This is the Transformer audio cabinet. I recently finished this for my son, and the intent of this was to have a fairly compact cabinet with smooth sides, not a lot of hardware and latches and things hanging off the outside, so that it could be easily loaded in the back of his SUV or in the back of a truck or a van, and you could set stuff on it in transport, but you could also protect all the gear, so the mixer and the top and the equalizers and the amps and things down here would be protected. But what we needed was, once we got on site, some side tables and a place to mount a projector up high over people's heads. So we came up with this unit, and here's how it works. We pull these latches, these 4 latches, and then we can take this top off, and this top, you'll see here when I lift up, has registration pins right there, these pins, which slide down through holes in this top shelf and then register into the top of the next door down. So we'll set this aside, and then we'll pull out these support rods for the side tables. We call them the wings. And these go through these double-walled sides. There's double-walled sides on each end. These slide through. And you can see we also made it where all of the hardware stores inside the cabinet for transport, so we didn't have extra stuff to, well, forget and leave places and lose. And so these slide through, and then the table comes off. Same concept here. There's 2 pins. They go through this shelf. They register into that door, so we minimize the number of latches we need. And then there's a pin here on the bottom, a wood pin, that is going to register into this tube to mount this shelf. So this shelf slides over these tubes. The 2 pins that registered in the top are going to register in the side. This pin, this large pin, is going to sink into this tube, and the whole thing just slides home. Come around the other side, pull this bottom door off. It latches the same way. The pins from the previous door held the top, and there's 2 pins on the bottom here that register into the base. This slides over these 2 tubes. The 2 pins back here and this large pin register, and it slides home. The reason we needed this front pin was, with just these back pins, if you bump this, you could knock it up, and we didn't want to knock the MP3 players or the laptop or whatever sitting on these off onto the floor. So we put these pins over here, so this is registered and makes it very solid. There's also, I have 2 locking keys that can slide through holes that are drilled through here to keep it from being able to slide out, but as it turns out, it's really rigid once it's in place. The next thing we need are the uprights for the projector, so we pull these bolts, slide these up, and these actually register through each of these 2 3/4-inch sidewalls, through this center upright, and into the other upright, into the other sidewall. So they're pretty secure once they're up. Slide these pins through. There's a number of holes in each of these rods, in each of these uprights, so that if we wanted for some reason to operate it at a lower height, we could actually do that as well. They're about every 6 inches up the height of this thing. We'll pull this one up, register this, and then the top, we just turn it around this way and set it up on these 4 uprights. And then what that gives us is a platform to set the video projector up here over the tops of most people's heads. I also have a power cord here that comes up and plugs it in here. You can't see it, but there's a power strip down here that's a UPS power strip, so you can plug everything in. There's holes drilled through each shelf, so we can run the wires up to the mixer and to all the different equipment, which will actually rack mount. And the mixer rack mounts on these rails too. So once everything's installed here, it can actually be tipped on its side, slid up into the truck and transported without taking any of the equipment out or having to rewire each time. Now, one more feature, if we do need to get to wiring from the back, there's these locking little rods here. I bent out a 3/16 steel rod. You pull these out of a little registration hole in the back, slide it up. There's another registration hole to hold it released. Do this one, same thing, register it in the hole, and then that lets this back panel slide out and come off just like the front panels. So that is the Transformer audio cabinet.